what's going on? I just got back from a 6-week trip where I traveled both internationally and domestically with my wife and kids. Since Bellroy launched their transit carry-on, it's become my go-to luggage. Given the stage of life that I'm in, the kinds of travel that I'm doing, my optimized setup is really just a carry-on luggage paired with a personal item-sized backpack. I've had a lot of people ask me how the Air One stacks up against the Bellroy, so I felt this was the perfect opportunity for me to finally test it out and decide which of the two I like the most. We actually took both of them. I traveled with the Air, my wife traveled with the Bellroy, but having them side by side also helped with some of the more nuanced things. I already did a dedicated video on the Bellroy one that I'll link below. My intention with this video is to take a closer look at the Air, but from the lens of someone that might be trying to decide between the two. So I'll share my perspective on the areas where I feel like the Air beats the Bellroy and vice versa, and in what specific scenarios or personal preferences would one be a better fit for you versus the other. So with that being said, let's get into it. The areas where I feel like the Air does better than the Bellroy are the brake mechanism that it has, that I'm pretty sure is unique to this suitcase. I don't think I've seen it in another suitcase before. And then beyond that is the compressibility factor, as well as the liner fabric that they're using on the inside. Now, starting off with the brake mechanism, this is something that candidly, when Air originally launched their suitcase, I was, a little bit on the fence about it. I didn't know how gimmicky it would be or not, but having had traveled with it for the past 6 weeks, it's a feature that has been surprisingly useful in a variety of different scenarios. Like for example, just going to the airport or coming back from the airport, the trunk of the car was already kind of fullish, and the only way we could make it work with the other stuff that we were carrying, the stroller, things like that, was standing it vertically. And it was just really nice being able to lock it, just preventing it from rolling around in the back of the car. Secondly was like going down the gate ramp to the airplane. It was pretty inclined, and we're just like sitting there in line waiting for people to board the plane, and having my hands full with the kids, the stroller, all of that good stuff. It was really nice being able to just like lock it in place. And then lastly, I met with Bo Ismono like 2 months ago, and we were actually talking about this. What he pointed out was like just being able to like sit waiting for your plane or whatever and just kick your feet on top of it while it's locked makes it that much more stable and enjoyable. And not to mention, doing this review right now, this guy's gliding and then this one's like not going anywhere. Second component is the compressibility. With the Bellroy, it comes with these integrated packing cubes, and with the Air One, you get this like compression panel, which I kind of have mixed feelings about, to be honest, just in the sense that's just like can be a little fussy, having that one additional thing to move out of the way depending on where the suitcase is. And I don't know if this is removable, but what I did notice is if you're packing and you're using packing cubes, this thing doesn't make that big of a difference. But if you're someone that doesn't use packing cubes and you're trying to fit as much stuff as possible comfortably in here, then having this little panel is a nice value add. It's got a nice fit lock magnetic buckle and the webbing in the strap itself. I guess I wish it was just like easily detachable so that once you're at destination and you're just living out of your suitcase, if it's like a short trip, rather than taking everything out, it would be nice just temporarily removing that panel. And then the last thing that I like about the Air is just the liner fabric itself. While on the Bellroy, it comes with a more unique colorway. I really like the liner fabric color that they're using. It's soft to the touch, so it's got that great hand feel, but just long-term wise, both the mesh as well as just the liner ripstop fabric that they're using on the Air just feels tougher. I'm sure that's partially contributing to the weight difference between the two, which I'll get into in a second. But all in all, like, if you're someone that packs your suitcase quite a bit and you're just kind of like testing the limits of the materials when everything's in here and you really care about the durability, while I haven't had either long enough to speak to the long-term durability of both, if I was a betting person, I'd say the Air One is probably least prone to just getting damaged. Now, where I think the Bellroy edges it over the Air is the aesthetics, and that's very subjective. Secondly, just the replaceability of parts. And then lastly is the weight factor. So for me, there's a few different things that contribute to why I prefer the look of the Bellroy. First and foremost are these woven grab handles. I've never seen another suitcase company incorporate something like this. Typically, you're dealing with something like rubber or hard plastic, like what you're seeing on the Air. And while I still think it looks nice, these textured nylon woven grab handles just give it a lot of personality. I think it elevates the look, differentiates it from the vast majority of other like hard shell suitcases out there. And then just the actual hand feel is fantastic. You do get rewarded with the Air one, like that tactile feedback, but on the Bellroy is just really, really next level. And that's really the main place where you're grabbing the suitcase. The second important factor that weighs into why I like the Bellroy more looks-wise is the color choices. Now, for both Bellroy and Air, you get a black and a white one. I'll talk about my experience with the white as well, but then if you want something a little bit more colorful, you get essentially orange and green in both, only that the Air colors, it's more of just like a brighter kind of like biohazard suit orange, and then the green is just like a timeless olive green. And that really is just like very subjective, but me personally, like Bellroy's bronze color, this one, very much a signature Bellroy color. It's like strikes a really nice balance of pop with it still being understated. It's an earthy color and it kind of stands out. And then the other one, the Everglade color, is kind of like a tealish green color, also super unique. It was honestly a tough choice between the two of these, but beyond that, the actual liner fabric on the Bellroy, you get gray with the Air, and then Bellroy, you get this awesome like stone blue color. I keep calling it stone blue. I don't know what the hell that means. That's just what this color invokes in me, and just the contrast between this and the other color on the outside is super nice. I think holistically, when it comes to colors, Bellroy is a little bit more experimental and creative in that sense, whereas Air plays it a little bit safer. And they know exactly what people want. They appeal to a lot of people. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see Air, like as part of their evolution, maybe here and there do limited edition runs of just bolder colors that less people are doing. And then the two other like worthwhile differences aesthetically are they both have a little bit of a texture to them, but it's just the texture on the Bellroy is more noticeable. And so the shell, I don't know, has a slightly more premium look to it. And then I think the more polarizing component of these two suitcases is this part. Probably most people are gonna prefer the fact that this is concealed. But on the Bellroy, it's exposed, and you really don't see this a lot. I had mixed feelings about it when I first got it, but honestly, over time, just something that's different, special, and makes it stand out. But this leads me to the second thing that I really appreciate about the Bellroy is the replaceability of parts. One of the reasons for why this is exposed here is that way in case your handle breaks, instead of you having to send it in and have the warranty cover, which they both have really generous warranty terms. I think if you're someone that travels pretty frequently, if something breaks on your suitcase, having to send it in, wait for them to fix it, and then send it back when they can just send you a part and you fix it really easily. I've seen videos on how to fix all of the things that could go wrong on here, and really beyond the shell breaking or the main zipper failing, everything else is replaceable. So that includes these handles, the grab handles, the actual TSA lock, the Hinomoto Japanese wheels, which I imagine they're replaceable as well on the Air. But yeah, that's something that also speaks volumes to their commitment to sustainability. And then lastly is just the weight difference. This one is 6.8 pounds and then this one's 8.2 pounds. So the general direction that the airlines are going in is that they're starting to weigh actual carry-on luggage as well. This is happening a lot internationally. In the US, it hasn't happened yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does in the near future. So from a future proofing perspective, or just for anyone that travels a lot internationally and you don't want to worry about like going over that weight threshold, 8.2 pounds is a little bit on the heavier side. I'll be honest, I travel quite a bit. I have yet to have my carry-on suitcase weighed anywhere, but I read about it enough that from a peace of mind standpoint, it's definitely a worthwhile consideration. One of the areas where you see like weight savings is right here, having this exposed. While the look of it might not be ideal for a lot of people, that's a lot of material that they didn't use. The liner fabric itself is a little bit thinner on this one. And then this one comes with that compression panel, which this one doesn't. I'm sure there's other areas where they also shaped weight, but those are the more like obvious ones that I can see. Now, everything I just shared, you might still be like kind of on the fence. A few more nuanced considerations that should hopefully help you decide are that the Bellroy comes with these integrated packing cubes. And we've got like a hook and loop system. You have flexibility in where you put the top one versus the bottom one, and their dimensions are perfectly proportionate to the inside of the suitcase. On the Air, you don't get that, but you have the compression functionality. Then in terms of like organization goes, like within the suitcase, I think that depending on what you're trying to store in here, one might be better than the other one. So for example, if you want to put a laptop inside your actual suitcase, a 13-inch laptop will fit in both of them, but if you have something bigger than a 13-inch, like a 14-inch, it fits in the Bellroy, but it does not fit in the Air. With the Bellroy one, you just get like one big space. Me personally, I prefer the way Air offers that internal organization because I don't put my laptop inside my suitcase. I don't want to open my suitcase when I'm going through security. With Air, you get one big pocket here, but then they have another one that's like smaller and spacious here. And actually there's like a number of things that I put in there, things that are maybe like too big to go into my toiletry kit, but that I want like organized and segmented away from everything else. That pocket came really, really handy for me. And then the last 2 points is that the Air one comes with this like big white bag that actually works really, really nicely as a laundry bag. I think if you're traveling just by yourself, it's a little bit thick and overkill, but me that I travel with my wife and kids a lot and clothing accumulates at a ridiculous speed, the little like thin mesh laundry bag that I was using was not as practical as that. And then the Air also comes with like a luggage tag. The only thing I was kind of surprised by, like it has like a nice leather luggage tag, but it didn't have like the little piece of paper where you can put your information into it. And then just lastly is historically from what I've seen is that Air has had this on sale far more than Bellroy. I think Bellroy did like a Black Friday sale where you could have gotten it cheaper, and then maybe one other time where this one has been on sale. Right now at time of recording, Air doesn't have it on sale, so they're both $300. But if you're still like, could be totally swayed either way, and you're really just trying to get the most bang for your buck, I think if you're a little patient, your chances of getting this one cheaper than the Bellroy is higher. One other point where it's subtle, but I do prefer it on the Air, is that you actually get an additional height option. As far as like the stability goes, there's a very tiny bit more wobble in the Bellroy than you get in the Air. But what I prefer on the Air is that the button is on the top, whereas the Bellroy is on the bottom. It's still like pretty intuitive, but I just find myself when it's closed, it's kind of easier just pushing the button on the top than it is on the bottom. So anyways, between the two, like if I could only choose one, especially if they're the same exact price, which one would I go with? Ultimately, the Bellroy edges it for me slightly, and it really comes down to the fact that I prefer the look as well as the color options a little bit more than on the Air. Secondly, just the peace of mind from all of the parts being replaceable should I run into a scenario where something breaks on it. And then lastly, the weight factor, even though I haven't come across a scenario where my carry-on suitcase is weighed, I think the peace of mind that comes with that, combined with the other two things, slightly outweighs the things that I like in the Air more, which is having that braking mechanism. Like I wish the Bellroy had that, the liner fabric feeling a little bit tougher. But then the other thing that is unique to the Air compared to the Bellroy is having that compression panel. And as someone that uses packing cubes, I value more having these integrated packing cubes over having the compression functionality that you get in this one, especially when that panel can be a nuisance at times. But in the end of the day, like one of the things that's weighing things slightly in favor of the Bellroy for me is the most subjective thing, and that is the look component. These woven grab handles I think are really cool. And then color-wise, right, like I can see that a lot of people would prefer the orange in the Air over the more earthy, subtle one, or just like a classic olive green over the slightly funkier version of the Bellroy. But then if you're going black or white, then it really comes down to like how much you value that braking mechanism, which I think is really what makes this one stand out over this one. As far as going with the white, whether you go with the Air or the Bellroy, candidly, I am not like a big white suitcase person for whatever reason. On the Air, it just made a lot of sense. Like the design of it looks really, really cool. If I were to do it again, I would have gone with the olive or just another color other than the white. To no surprise, it scuffs pretty easily. Since I got back for the video, I just took like a baby wipe and it definitely like easily cleared a lot of the smudges, but a lot of these feel more permanent. And I think the area where it gets a little bit hairier is just where the zipper tape is. It's even more exposed actually on the Air. But yeah, when that white zipper tape gets dirty, kind of a pain to clean. So if you're the kind of person that goes crazy with that, I'd probably opt for one of the color options, regardless of which one you choose. And yeah, if you find this one on sale, it's like $60 cheaper than the Bellroy one, and you really are using it primarily for domestic travel, not for international, then I think if you eliminate the weight difference from the equation, then in that scenario, it'd be a lot easier to choose the Air. But yeah, best of luck. Cheers.